We're going to build the best football team in the SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyree Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Thompson fires the ball over the middle. It's Norrie! It's Norrie! Got a touchdown! Norrie got a touchdown! Oh, man! Norrie's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatory.
Same corner, same time. We back at it. 3-1. Chance to be 4-1, fellas. How y'all feeling?
Good. Man, it was a good weekend. Not the game we wanted to see, probably, but definitely the result that you wanted to see. Had a nice little relaxing weekend. Told Silk can't go on a bender every weekend. You got to rest and rejuvenate the body so that when those times come, you're ready and ready to go.
Already. How was your weekend, Nick?
I was sick all week.
Welcome back, bro.
Thank you. Welcome back from the dead. Yeah, caught the flu, COVID, whatever it was. Monday took me out like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Felt good by the weekend. Feel good now, but still testing positive. Don't tell whatever airline I'm flying to Lexington on Friday.
Gotta get you a mask, bro. Bring them back.
Well, Nick, I hope by Friday you're testing negative and staying positive.
We gotta bring masks back, bro. From Nick and his soft immune system, bro. You down like every other week, fam.
I think this is my third time getting COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. You like 0-3 on the trail right now, dog. It's rough.
But I traveled all 2020, like for that season, for the COVID season, traveled that entire year flying.
Nothing.
And then ever since they were like, hey, by the way, pandemic's over. Just catching it. Just catching it.
Pandemic's been over for everybody but Nick.
But Nick, yeah, Nick just started. How was y'all Sunday, man? Y'all vibed out a little bit. We're gonna talk Saturday in the football game here in a minute, but how was y'all Sunday?
Well, Silk, you are watching quite possibly the greatest NFL team of all time in the Miami Dolphins, putting up a 70 burger for the first time since the 60s, I believe, in the NFL that happened. And I mean, just talk about
actually showed mercy. Could have scored.
I was going to say, talk about a merciful showing by the Miami Dolphins, who had the opportunity to tie the all-time, potentially even beat the all-time scoring record. And Mike McDaniel, just an incredible dude, just says, you know what? We're going to put them out of their misery and take a knee here. But if you didn't watch the Dolphins play in the greatest show on turf yesterday, then you are truly missing out on what's going to be a historic season, I believe.
Let's be professional and talk about college football. This is not a pro show, you know.
You don't want to talk about the fullback kick return?
That fullback running the ball back on us, bro. That I had to enjoy my dinner and my time with my family after that, bro. Because I felt like we was coming back. We bring it to a one-possession game after being down 17-0. T-Law do his thing, drive us down the field, and then a fullback catch a random ball, and it looked like we cared to even try to tackle him or something, bro. It was the slowest kickoff return in NFL history. Y'all made history. We made history too. That was the slowest kickoff return in NFL history, I promise.
What did the Bucs do yesterday?
The Bucs play tonight. They play the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
I think I saw Trevor Sikkema tweet it yesterday. There's like a law. All three NFL football teams in the state of Florida cannot be good in the same season, same day, same week. Can't do it.
No. But hopefully, you know, we guys will continue to shift your focus to what's happening down in Miami Dolphins. Like I said, we're looking at historic season ahead of us. We're 3-0.
It's week 3. Relax.
Yeah, well, you have to start with week 1, then week 2, then week 3, and I'm not going to say that they might be the greatest team of all time, but they could be the greatest team of all time.
I like
They're
that.
not.
So, well, let's get on to the show. We'll talk a little bit about Saturday here in a second. But before we do that, we want to announce a special collaboration that we are doing with our friends at the Gator Nation Football Podcast tomorrow in Gainesville. We will be at the Social at Midtown at around 3:00 tomorrow. If you're in Gainesville, you have some time. We'll probably be there for a few hours, I would imagine. Come swing by, come say hello. We're going to talk some ball with those guys. Do a little just hanging out together, just two Florida podcasts getting together, talking about the Gators. So if you are in Gainesville tomorrow, please swing by the Social at Midtown. Like I said, we will be there around 3:00 tomorrow and would love to see as many of you guys as possible.
Come hang out. We hanging out a little bit. Like Dan said, we moving through the city vlog style. We bringing my guy Lion out. We're gonna shoot some things on 4K, episodic. I think I'm saying it right.
Episodic.
Yeah.
An episodic stadium in Gale at the same corner at the actual same time. We vibing out a little bit. So if you're in the area, I think Velo is falling through and a few other people that rock with us pretty heavy. So hang out. If not, you'll see them in a couple days on this YouTube channel. Make sure y'all subscribe and all that.
Absolutely. We know that you guys love the the Gator Nation football podcast as well. We don't beef with other podcasts. There's a lot of lanes out there for all of us to exist and coexist in, and we're excited to hang out with the guys from the Gator Nation football podcast tomorrow again at Midtown Social. If you can't make it, we will be putting it out a few days later, vlog style. I want to appreciate you guys watching and listening to that. We're excited about what we're going to be doing there. So let's talk a little bit about Saturday's game against Charlotte. But before we do that, we do want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Gataverse. Go visit them, Gata, Gata verse.io. They are selling the Trevor Etienne cards right now that you will allow you to get some discounts when Trevor Etienne plays and does well for the University of Florida. Money goes directly into his pockets as well. The Gataverse is supporting numerous NIL athletes all throughout the University of Florida athletic department. So go support them. Go check them out, gataverse.io. We are still working on a couple of giveaways of that Trevor Etienne card as well. So stay tuned for that. But again, go visit gataverse.io, the newest way to support the Florida Gator athletic department. So again, gataverse.io. Gentlemen, Gators get a win on Saturday against the Charlotte 49ers. And what I would imagine is the most quintessential PE coach that you can have coaching a Division I football program in Biff Poggi, I believe is his name. But the Gators do behind a little smack that action from Trey Smack, his 5 field goals. Gators win 22-7. Gentlemen, before we dive into the analytics and offense and defense and everything else, give us your thoughts of the game. Silk, we'll start with you, buddy.
Man, overall, ugly affair, sloppy affair. Defense came out to play some football. Thank God. Austin Armstrong and those guys putting up top 5 type numbers. We kind of expected, and we spoke about it all offseason, that we thought that group was going to be probably the best unit and also get us some wins. But offensive line, us having 3 guys out with the offensive line, I need these glasses, bro. So shout out to glasses, man. Harlem bringing my glasses. Yeah. One time for that. Now I can see you guys. But an ugly affair. Offensive line was in shambles. We had 3 starters out, 2 for suspension, 1 for injury, being held out. Our center, Kingsley Ugakun, was out. So, it was a clunky affair. We didn't give Etienne the ball a lot. Seemed like we were doing some load management with him with those 7 carries. And I also think Montreal Johnson needed reps. He hasn't been himself this year. Not looking like the Montreal that we saw last year. So I wasn't minding him getting some extra reps in that type of game. Would have liked to see Webb get some more and us still try to run the ball, but offensive line just couldn't get it going. The first drive we go down, I'm thinking, okay, we get 40 and put these boys to bed, but it just didn't happen. We only punted the ball 1 time. So we moved the ball effectively, but when we got in the red zone, it was just pooting out. We kept it vanilla. Didn't see a whole lot of motions. Didn't see a whole lot of sexy plays. Shout out to Ricky Pearsall making probably the catch of the decade, if not my life. So we did go vertical a few passes there. I think we had 3 or 4 passes over 20 yards. They were trying to get that going, but just couldn't get it going. Would love to see our 2 deep be a lot better than what it is, but it's just not. When our starting 5 offensive linemen aren't on the field, is not a smooth process. Game 1 versus Utah, we was missing 1 guy, and it was just not what we seen versus Tennessee. But it's a young team, man. It's gonna be some ups and downs. Still want to clean up some special team stuff. Still had guys, the numbers, like somebody still can't count. Who's ever sending the game changer numbers out there? You got to get that together. So a few things here and there that I just didn't like, on watching the game. But my defense showed just a lot of youth. TJ Searcy, Kelby Collins, just all the way around the field. I think our starting safety should be Thornton and Jordan Castell. Just from what I'm seeing, had some weird things happen with Kamari Wilson. We'll talk about that a little later. He came out in the middle of the second quarter or something, but some weird stuff happened that night. But overall, I'm taking that game as a grain of salt. I want this team to get more consistent, but they're very young, man. And when our offensive line, if we're not healthy, we're gonna have some problems this year. That's my biggest takeaway from this game is we got to stay healthy in the offensive line and Etienne. He's very important. He's probably the most important piece in our offense.
I mean, you had the same starting 5 for the first 2 games, and then a different starting 5 against Tennessee, and then a totally different one game 4. That's a position group where you need cohesion. You need to play together, and Florida just hasn't been able to do that. One with Kingsley, and then with the suspensions. I still think this team's like learning to win, like as a program and as a team, still learning to win. I thought there was a time in the Tennessee game where you could have like stepped on their throat and put it out of reach. And Billy said he went a little conservative. And then you look at this, you have a big rivalry win. Some team named Charlotte, who I think has had a football team for 10 years. And then Kentucky, who's had your number 3 of the last 5 years, the last 2 years in a row. That easy game to look over. I think it's still a program trying to win. When you look at what the defense did, that first quarter, moved the ball 225 total yards, held them to 30. I was like you. I was like, all right, I'm going to be done writing by halftime. We just got to sail it in. I don't know I don't know what my answer would be for the red zone offense. It wasn't Billy's red zone offense wasn't good at UL. And then it's not great. It was okay before this game. And then when you go 4 field goals, once you get down in the red area, that's not going to help your touchdown percentage. But I don't know that there's too much to take away from this. A little bit sloppy. But like, I'll keep it equal. I didn't take a lot away from the McNeese game, and they looked great in the McNeese game. So just a little stub toe, if anything. But this team's 3-1.
Right. I don't think a lot of people would have thought that, right? Maybe we did, right? Or maybe we were hopeful of that. But I think a lot of people, when you look at the first 4 games of the year, almost everybody was projecting the Gators to be 2-2 at best, right? If you look at Stuart Mandel, he was anticipating the Florida Gators would have 3 wins maybe all season and 0 in the SEC, right? So the first 3-game win streak the Gators have had since 2020, which is kind of hard to believe, but makes sense. Didn't look great. I've seen Florida in worse positions in games like this and potentially even losing, right? I remember a couple years ago against Samford when we had to put up about 70 points to their 54, whatever the final score was, right? So while the score wasn't dominant, while you would have liked to see them score more in the red zone and be a little bit more dominant, the Gators scored, I believe, on every drive in the first half. Again, I think you saw at a Trey Smack that we finally have a kicker, hopefully.
But it went for 54. It could have went 70, Nick.
We asked him. I wasn't there. I was home, but they asked him after the game. He said his range, like he said, like anything inside of 60. And I was like, I think you need to believe in yourself, my guy.
Yeah,
believe in yourself.
I mean, but if
You
anything,
don't. Who's going
took
to?
out of it, like the Gators have to be more confident now in their kicking game than they were going into this game, right? So now that changes and gives you guys some opportunities. I know Billy Napier's a big, fourth down guy, but now when you enter this SEC play consistently through the end of the year, now you have the opportunity to hopefully get some points on the board, and it's got to be good for his confidence. There's still a lot of special teams blunders, a couple of different plays where the Gators had 10 guys on the field, which I don't understand. I am not a football coach. I don't know how all of the different packages that you have of players that go out there, but I would imagine that for most of the stuff, whether it's punt return, punt safe, kick block, whatever it might be, or even field goal or PAT, I feel like there should be a consistent 11, and we can't seem to do that. So that's a big question mark. But other than that, I thought Graham Mertz played okay. Obviously, we didn't see a ton of Trevor Etienne in this game. He was ranked as the Gators' best rusher in this game on his 8 attempts for 48 yards. We saw a little bit out of Andy Jean. We saw a little bit more out of the freshman Silk. I know you mentioned Bryce Thornton earlier. I thought that he had a great game as well. So it sucks. You hate to see it. Not winning, 40-7 or whatever the score could have been. But I don't want to think that the sky is falling just yet. At least they looked like a decent football program and weren't constantly shooting.
The sky fell week 1, man.
Yeah.
It's a very young team. We're the youngest team, I think, in the SEC right now. You look at our 2 deep bitches, freshmen and sophomores, all over the field. And we got some juniors here and there with Cam Jackson and some other guys, but it's just loaded with a lot of young talent. And that's the biggest takeaway. It's like everybody's saying, we're learning how to win. I'm not going to take too much away from this game. Don't like looking ahead. Could be some look ahead stuff, not just from the players, but the staff as well. I don't think they brought out. It just felt the feel of the game. It felt like, a practice vibe. Spring game vibe. It didn't feel like there was any urgency to put that team away. It felt like they came out there, let's just beat these guys with our basic offense. And you should be able to do that against the Charlotte 49er team. Like, we're not making no excuses. We should be able to go out, push this team around with our second team, like the regular Gators that we grew up, that we all accustomed to watching. Yeah, but this team isn't. That's not where we're at right now as a program. Like, let's be aware of the season that we walked into. We walked into a season where we knew it was a rebuild. And when you see a team full of young boys everywhere, this is a full-fledged rebuild. We're 3-1 in this rebuild. We're better than what we thought we was in this rebuild. I think last week versus Tennessee, we got to see that first half, what it looks like when it's thriving, when these guys are hitting on all cylinders. The defense is playing, the offense is driving and possessing the ball, controlling the clock. We got to see the blueprint of what this offense and this team's supposed to be. Then second half, he took the foot off the gas. Defense kept playing well. And then, once we see that potential, then it's like, all right, Billy, like, we need to get more consistent with what that first half of Tennessee was. And then now we rolling in a very open SEC East, but we got to be realistic with where we are as a program, bro. We are in rebuilding phase. And I think we can still go get 8 wins in a rebuild year.
And we talked about that all off seasons. Like, if you look at the roster, said this even before Utah, look at the roster, the best players on this team. Sure, you've got like a Ricky Pearsall and Austin Barber, who I think is having a little bit of a down year. Didn't have a great game last week. The majority of the best players on the team are guys that are either sophomores, freshmen that have been brought in by this staff. So I think the entire offseason, we talked about it like, hey, going into this year, you're going to be young. You're going to take some lumps. There's going to be growing pains. Billy said that there's going to be growing pains. And if growing pains is winning 22-7, like, okay.
Yeah, at least it's a win, right? I mean, you look back at Samford games, FAU games, right? Like, at no point, Nick and I were talking right before the show, before you got on, Silk, at no point did I think that Florida was ever going to lose this game. Sure, you would have liked to see more points, but, Florida from a defensive perspective was completely dominant. They allowed 1 score. Jalen Jones had a couple nice plays on that drive. And, Jalen Jones was a highly recruited player out of high school, certainly didn't become the player that, most 4 stars become, but it's going to happen every once in a while with especially a young team. But outside of that, shut them out in the second half. Obviously, you want to see more points on offense. There's still a lot of opportunity to improve in the red zone. And being able to kind of step on their throat or to put the game away to feel more comfortable. But, at no point was I ever concerned that Florida was going to lose this game, which is something that a few years ago, Florida very well could have lost that game, or certainly could have been a lot closer in the second half.
Austin Armstrong is a problem. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how long he'll be at Florida. Like, that's an interesting thing because, like, he's only 30. So, like, when would he get a head coaching opportunity? But, like, this guy can call some defensive ball plays. This defense has been fun to watch. And like we just said, we're watching Kelby Collins do it. Shamar James, the sophomore. Jakeem Jackson's getting in. Castell. He's putting young guys in positions to make plays early in their career.
Yeah, and they're handling it well, right? It's a lot of maturity with these freshmen that they're bringing in. They're doing a good job of identifying the right recruits and getting them in here for this turnaround. What do you guys think about the Trevor Etienne's so-called load management? He ran for 22. He had 22 carries Tennessee week, 172 rushing career day. Come back this week, he has 8 carries, which seemed to be some load management from my perspective. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you there. Not that like he was injured or anything, but like sore, dinged up. Hey, let's let Montrell. And also, I think Montrell's in his head a little bit. Like, he hasn't had one of those big runs where he goes off, or hasn't had a big game. And I think he's like pressing a little bit. And it was an opportunity to say, Trevor, you're a little banged up. Get you some rest. See if we can get Montrell going. Get him back in a good headspace, and see if he can have a good game. I would be shocked if you see that kind of split this week in Kentucky or the rest of the year.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad, right? I mean, Montrell Johnson only played 9 more snaps than Trevor Etienne. I know he had double the amount of rushes, but it's not like Trevor Etienne sat the bench either, right? He still had 48 yards, had that long of 17. As much as you want to see it, you ran the ball 30 times. Graham Mertz had 4 of those. Andy Jean had 1, and Treyon Webb had 1, right? So, of the 24, you split it 2/3 for Montrell, 1/3 for Etienne. You flip it from the week before, and Trevor Etienne obviously got the bulk of the plays. Silk, I think you maybe mentioned it a little bit. We haven't seen what we thought we might see out of Montrell this year. I think Trevor Etienne's a little bit better than Montrell Johnson about creating holes for himself or finding that gaps, where Montrell Johnson's a little bit better when the gap is already there and powering through and making that move. Trevor Etienne is a little bit more shifty than Montrell Johnson. So maybe that's why we've seen, Trevor Etienne get the ball a little bit more this year. And certainly he's carried the ball and toted the ball really well this year. I'm not super upset. I think if Trevor Etienne had 1 carry like Treyon Webb, then I think that there's a reason to be concerned or to have questions. But, Florida obviously didn't need to do a ton to score a lot of points in this game. Maybe Trevor Etienne gets the Gators maybe another touchdown. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with trying to build a confidence of, your starting running back and a guy, that was a 3rd team all SEC member preseason, right? And trying to get that confidence and showing you, hey, you can do this, right?
Yeah. And a little bit on what Nick was saying with Austin. You got something, Nick? Go ahead on load management. Go, my bad.
No, I was just trying to look up because I had a thought. I was trying to look up to see how many like 1 yard, 2 yard, or loss of yard carries he had. But it seems like I don't know if it's him or the scheme or the line on particular plays. He seems to get like hit in the backfield a lot. And I don't know that that's anything he's doing, but it seems like Montrell is like fighting for his life to get out of the backfield. And I don't know that that's his fault. Like, his first run was for 11, and then his second run, I think he had to like break a tackle in the backfield to get a 1 yard loss.
Well, Saturday was just an ugly affair with the offensive line. It just was not good blocking going on.
Right.
It's terrible football going on in the trenches.
Go ahead. I was just going to say Montrell Johnson's only averaging. I'm going to take out the McNeese game where it was 3.47 yards after contact, but right now he's averaging like a little bit more than 1.7 yards per attempt after contact. So that's obviously not what you want to see. And Florida's offensive line was obviously sat out or dinged up in this game. but we just haven't seen a ton out of Montreal Johnson. And maybe this is an opportunity that when Florida does get, back in SEC play, they'll go back and revert back to Trevor Etienne, who might be a little bit better, at least this season. But, the Gators, especially with only 3 running backs on this roster, need to try to instill that confidence, build that confidence, figure out what's missing to try to make it work with Montreal Johnson, as they do enter SEC play.
Like I said,
weeks,
man,
8 weeks, 7 SEC games. You need both of them. You can't just be like.
And you need ETN more than you need more ETN more than you need anybody in this offense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the Tennessee game, he got that going. You know what I'm saying? He's the most important player. Like our offensive line, they're doing good with that starting 5. But if you look at his yards after contact, like we just look at Montreal, it's insane what he's getting out the contact. I think 120 something yards of that 172 last week was after contact. So he's very.
Montreal Johnson's 1.7 to Trevor Etienne's 4.18 yards after contact.
Right. I think the offense goes on his shoulders, and for him to have, it's a long season, and if we don't have him versus Kentucky Saturday or any SEC game, it's going to be different without Etienne. So I don't mind them doing some load management with him because he's. Like we got multiple backs, but clearly he's the creme de la creme. We got to keep him healthy throughout the entire season for us to have, a bowl winning season. I would say he's very important.
I mean, the game's very different if you're playing Kentucky or LSU and you lose the game and Montreal Johnson has double the amount of snaps as Trevor Etienne does. But that's not the way that the game went. So I want everybody to kind of put their pitchforks down. I know Travis Etienne's treating free 7 and everything else.
You need to worry about himself.
Travis needs to focus a little bit more on the Jaguars season, but Trevor Etienne's going to get the bulk of the carries, in my opinion, again against Kentucky. And I think that we'll forget that this conversation had to happen. But
speak a little bit more on Austin Armstrong. I think he's going to be a hot commodity, but as a head coach, I think he's so far away from getting like that type of job. I think he's from that Saban lineage, that Kirby Smart, all that lineage of being a DC, waiting his turn. I think he sits around, be top DC. We'll probably render over a lot more money to keep him in the fold over the years, but I foresee a guy like that jump into another SEC offer, just like Muschamp, just like Kirby Smart. I think that's the type of situation we are, and what a home run hire. To get a guy that young, the energy is contagious, a lot like Kirby Smart, a lot like Muschamp on the sidelines. Young guys want to play for him. We had some incredible visits this past weekend that we could talk about a little later as well. Wish that game was a little bit more exciting, but I don't know if it matters all that much. But no, I think Austin Armstrong will be here a little bit. I don't expect him to jump to no G5 offer or anything like that. I think the play is vibe out until you get that SEC head coaching job or maybe some Big 12 ACC shit. But G5, I don't foresee that happening.
Big 12. I mean, shoot, the way we're going, there's only really 2 conferences. There's the Big 10 and the SEC.
Right.
And then you got some other, like a new group of 7, and then the Power 2.
It's a shame that the Pac-12 is falling apart because that shit look all right. They thriving out there a little bit.
This is a great last song for the Pac-12. What do they have?
It is
4 in the top 10. They've got some awesome quarterbacks.
They do
all throughout that conference. I was never high on Michael Penix.
I believe you gotta be careful there, Nick.
Whoa.
I watched a replay of Washington. Like Washington's good.
Washington's very good.
Washington's good. They're fun.
Oregon's good. Washington State's doing all right. Oregon State's doing all right. USC, I know that they had a battle against Arizona State, but they're looking all right. So, yeah, that Pac-12, it's a good swan song for them.
Yeah.
So that is making a comeback.
All right, let's get into kind of position by position. Graham Mertz, how'd you guys think that he did against Charlotte?
I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
I would like for him to not have to prove how tough he is every week.
Yeah.
Like he showed me week 1, I'm like, oh dang, this guy's really tough. And then every week I'm like, yeah, no, you're still tough. Still tough. And then Charlotte, and then I'm like, why is he being peeled off the ground again? What's happening?
Yeah.
He came out super efficient. What did he start? Let me see. 8 of 8, 13 of his first 14, 16 of his first 18. I don't know how much. Okay, so when we talk like the red zone, how much latitude does he have to check or call or audible change plays? Like, I see Florida like running into stacked boxes or throwing into like a 3-man front, 4-man front. Like does he not have the ability? Because I think he's smart enough to read and assess and figure things out pre-snap. But I thought Graham Mertz was good, man. He's been solid all year.
262 yards, 11.4 yards per attempt, 87% completion. His highest ranked game ever in his career.
And they pushed the ball a little bit more.
They did.
They tried to,
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard when the offensive line's blocking like that, though.
Gets a fumble, was sacked 3 times, got pressured 9 times. Not what you want to see. But yeah, really solid performance.
Yeah, he's efficient, man. He's our McElroy. When you just want to a year like this, you want to be able to play defense and not turn the ball over. And he's doing a great job of just being a leader, not turning the ball over, getting us in and out of bad plays. He's efficient, and I think there's with his skill set, there's a lot more he can do. I don't think he's been held back by a weak arm or anything like that. He's a very capable guy. You can see the traits of what made him a blue chip quarterback coming out. It's a lot of it's some intangibles there. I like what I've seen from him so far. We're gonna have to count on him to go get us I think this season to go get us a win with 2-minute offense, and I want to see that out of him. I want to see him take charge and go win us a game in some fashion. But right now, bro, Graham Mertz, and shout out to the staff. We're gonna talk about their incompetence in special teams. We got to clean that stuff up. Just not getting any better. I'm glad we found a kicker, but their development of the quarterback position is. I'm cool with it. I have no problem with what they're doing. The guy they brought in, everybody thought that he was done buns, and he's the most efficient quarterback. Done buns. Write it down for show title.
Done buns.
I think done buns. But if you look at it, he's the most efficient quarterback in the SEC right now. And we're not saying that he's Tim Tebow or Cam Newton or anything like that. But he's doing his job, and he's not the quarterback that we saw in Wisconsin. That's for sure.
Yeah, not turning the ball over. How many interceptions did he have at Wisconsin? Damn, it was like 20 something.
He had a total of 26 interceptions at Wisconsin. Has one this year in a ball that was partially maybe his fault, but not totally. Hit Pierce off the hands there. I think that there's still opportunities, right? I don't think that Graham Mertz is going to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think he's going to be a candidate for the Heisman Trophy. And there's going to be some plays that you say, hey, there was this guy running wide open or that guy wide open. Sometimes you have to work through your progressions, and being able to see the field is elite, right? And there's 130 Division I quarterbacks. Very few of them will make it to the NFL, so none of them are going to be perfect. So I think what you're seeing out of Graham Mertz is been well above what anybody anticipated for him this year, and I'm excited to see him watch. And it's frustrating because I saw in the Arliss Boardingham touchdown. He was open. I think Andy Jean was open too. And it's just like, man, I wish we could have had some more of those opportunities for him in the red zone this game, but it didn't look like the opportunities availed themselves for the Gators. But again, another good game for Graham Mertz, and going 20 for 23 for 262 yards, no matter who your opponent is hard. So it was good to see him perform the way that he did. Let's get in. We talked about the running game, so let's get into the wide receivers. Obviously, the Ricky Pearsall catch is a catch that's going to go down as one of the greatest catches of all time.
That is nuts. Dude's running full speed, has the presence of mind, the body control to go up, grab that, and then got hit by 2 dudes.
Yeah, and held on to the ball. Yeah,
that was that. It just makes you feel good about watching football.
I'm surprised the refs ain't check his gloves. Like, hey man, let me see them, bro. Let me investigate them gloves. There's no way.
Yeah,
he did after the game. He did say shout out to the training staff for the gloves.
Yeah, we were talking. I was watching the game at a friend's birthday, and it reminded me of the Little Giants when the guy has the stickum on his hands and gets his. But that's what I would imagine. Ricky Pearsall had some invisible stickum on his hands. But great game by Ricky Pearsall. 6 catches on 6 attempts for 104 yards. And again, one of the most beautiful catches that you'll ever see. Trevor Etienne gets 20 yards. Arliss Boardingham 31. Andy Jean 32 yards. That goes along with his, I think it was a 25-yard run earlier in the game. Khalil Jackson got a good catch. Jaquavion Frazier's, I think this is the first catch he's had all season. He goes for 2. Caleb Douglas 4.
Douglas had a fumble though, didn't he?
Who?
Caleb Douglas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the fumble. Yeah, I mean, you catch the ball. I was done after that. I was like, yeah, let's get out of here healthy, man. This is crazy.
That was the last straw.
That was my last straw. It's like, and I like Caleb Douglas, but you gotta hold on to the ball, put it away. It's tough. He put it in a tough spot there because he caught it out like this, and those guys are reaching at it, and you're still trying to get the first down. So don't want to harp on it too much. But I was done as for the night. It was like, all right, let's just get out of here healthy. Every time one of my linemen was on the ground too long, or even Montreal sometimes it took him a long time to get up. Like, bro, just get up, please get up. So I like Andy Jean. You gotta give him the ball more. Seen more twitch out of him than I thought I would see. I know he's a good route runner and all that, but when he got the ball in his hand, the energy looked a little different. And on some of these routes, I know we want to go deep, and we keep saying that Mertz need to go deep, but some of these routes, these boys is not. Some of the guys that are in there aren't getting separation. So, at that position, I know we're playing a lot of youth on defense. I want to see more youth at the wide receiver spot. I haven't seen a whole lot of Andy Mizell. Don't know what he's doing in practice. I just know these guys, their skill set. And from my opinion, if the older guys can't separate, we're not getting it. I mean, shout out to Jaquavion on Frazier's. I'm glad he got some reps, but
yeah,
I want to see some of these young boys get more opportunities at wide receiver like they're getting on defense. So,
well, that's
my take from that. I like the shots we saw from small. Go ahead.
That's the frustrating part about only winning 22-7. Like, if you score in the red zone, you're up 30 points. Hey, Aiden's in, and you just start throwing guys in and giving guys an opportunity. I think we were talking before the game, or maybe a couple weeks ago. I was like, I want to see like a play action pass to Aiden Mizell to like start the Charlotte game, just like let him go deep. But also, like, when you're not taking Ricky Pearsall out of the game, when Trey Wilson's healthy, he's staying in the game, and then it's really just Caleb Douglas and Khalil Jackson. It's like a little 4-man rotation there.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Khalil Jackson, got some very strong hands, man. I like his game. I know he's a walk-on, and people, Florida shouldn't be playing a walk-on receiver. The kid can play. Football players just play football. Khalil Jackson's a football player.
He has a pretty decent pedigree behind his name too, right? I would imagine that Khalil Jackson had an opportunity to go play at least at the FCS somewhere, maybe even a lower level FBS school. Obviously, his dad's, Willie Jackson Sr. So
he's on scholarship now.
Yeah, and he's on scholarship now, right? So there's probably a little bit more to that.
Got Silk over here just ripping Schollies away.
But
no. I'm saying that originally he's a walk-on, right? So he's not like these are recruiting nerds on the timeline a lot. They want to, we got so many. Florida should be playing 5 stars, all 5. It's a standard. Everybody got the standard. But football players just play football. And Khalil's the guy that came on as a walk-on, earned his scholarship, but he could play. We've seen some great catches from him so far. He got some strong hands, and like you guys said, the pedigree's there.
Nick, we expect Eugene Wilson and Marcus Burke back for Kentucky, or
I don't know about Marcus Burke. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I expect Eugene back.
Carton Burke.
I expect Eugene back.
All right. Offensive line. Obviously, you were not playing the traditional offensive line. Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, and Richie Leonard and Najee Harris played most of the offensive line snaps there. You saw a little bit of Lindell Hudson, a bit of Damian George, and Mark Pitts played one game. So that was your group. Obviously, you're mixing Micah Mazuka, who was suspended by the SEC for the first half of the game, and then Florida had an in-house punishment for his square up at the end against Tennessee for the second half of the game. But offensive line graded very
Load
poorly.
management, Dan.
Load management. Austin Barber ranked, I believe, the lowest. He ranked the lowest of the offensive linemen in this game. But are you guys taking a lot out of it other than, hey, you've got your healthy five, and then after that, there's a deep drop off?
Yeah, I'm gonna judge him, especially Austin Barber. He's a starter, right? He's not one of those backup guys. So he's got to come in and play better football. Was definitely disappointed by his performance. Richie Leonard, he's been quiet, but he's been very consistent from week to week. I'm gonna give Richie his flowers. I think he's having a good season. Other than that, man, our tackles had a rough night, dog. Like they was getting beat like a drum. Maybe these motions and a lot of our sets, we kept it vanilla. Even if it's our backup offensive line, I want to keep harping on it. We should have played better than that. And I wanted those guys. Those snaps was valuable. It looks 22-7. We struggled. It was an ugly affair, but those were very valuable snaps for the season and also for just like the program. Like even if it's ugly, you got to get those guys reps, man.
I think we're seeing a little bit too the impact of Keontae Goodwin and him having to leave to deal with his mom, his family situation. Like Florida, Lindell Hudson gets into a car accident and he misses time in camp and then misses the first game. And then it's just been it's tough. I went into the season saying I thought I liked Florida's 5 and maybe liked 6 or 7 guys, but didn't think there was a ton of depth. And then for one reason or another, you've had to reach into that depth every single week except for Tennessee week. So you got to start getting these. You got to start getting every once in a while. You got to start getting these 5 to play together, like next to each other from left to right, not mixing and matching. And yeah. And I wonder how much of Kingsley being out was load management or got a nice shot of Toradol before Tennessee, couldn't feel his ankle, and then after the game and the adrenaline wears off, you're like, hey, that didn't make it better.
Was he in a boot again?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's dealing with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, I know those take a long time. They're not comfortable, and especially in that bent over position for 65 snaps a game. That's a lot of wear and tear. That if you're not fully healthy, obviously you can play through it with some shots and stuff like that. But if you don't need them, but obviously still leaves Florida with some huge question marks in the backup offensive line, and that's where I start to have some questions. I'm not certainly starting to turn on anybody on the staff, but you have 2 offensive line coaches that have, now their second season. There's not a lot of depth. The recruiting hasn't been probably what Florida needs to continuously be putting in great players to put themselves in the best position to build around. And so I do have some questions about what Florida's doing with the offensive line. If there were some younger guys getting some good opportunity and they're making mistakes, but Florida just doesn't seem like they're ready to go. And they look not great against Charlotte. And even if you get a healthy roster back for the Kentucky game, if there is an injury or 2 on that offensive line, then I think the Florida season takes an abrupt either halt or potential U-turn on what they're able to be. And I just don't know when it gets potentially better for Florida unless they go and get some talent out of the transfer portal. And obviously nobody anticipated the loss of Keontae Goodwin entering the season, but still I have a lot of question marks about where Florida's at with the offensive line.
I talked about that a bunch, during camp, because in camp, you had Richie Leonard went down, you had a bunch of guys just getting hurt. Now, can Cam Waits, who's starting to practice and do a little bit more, when can he be available, and what is he coming from an Achilles tear? But that's a big depth piece, a guy that's played guard and tackle during his career.
But still hasn't played much, right? I mean, didn't play, at Louisiana. So, even if you do get him back, and yes, he's a sizable guy, and they like him and what he projects to be, but you still don't have anything there yet, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to say anybody needs that there needs to be a change, there needs to be firing, but what Florida's at right now on the offensive line is just not where I think it should be if you have two guys dedicated to the position, both in recruiting and on the field.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think they're it's rough, man. Once you start bringing in FIU guys, you kind of get the gist of where you're going with your rebuilding the trenches. So it's a combination of both. You bring Michael Mazuka in, a guy that's very solid coming from Baylor. But outside of that, like, we haven't infused anything else but like freshmen. Like, it hasn't been a big transfer for a portal wave of offensive linemen, and it's different.
No, they did. They did. They got Damian George, Keontae Goodwin, Hudson, and Mazuka. They went and got 4. Now one left, but like they at least got numbers.
But you got bodies, but they didn't go out there. The only big name was Micah. Damian George was a backup guy. He didn't play at Bama. He lost his spot on the bench. Yeah, right. And then you get Goodwin, another guy with just, potential 5-star on the recruiting trail, but he hadn't done anything at Kentucky. His questioning his work ethic. So you're infusing, like, the transfer portal. If you want to infuse, a kickstart, you got to go out to like some big guys, and that takes some NIL money, and it's a lot of nuances to it. Are you in a rebuilding year, and do you go spend that type of money, or do you just bring in pieces that'll get you by the next year? And I think that's what we did this past offseason. We'll bring in, of course, you got the one solid guy that comes in and fills in for Osiris Torrance, which was our motor last year. So you bring in Michael Mazuka, he fills in that spot. But the other spots was just like depth pieces, and then you work your thing out in the recruiting trail. So this offseason, I was saying all that to say this offseason, I think you bring in back a very good roster, very young roster, and our biggest hole right now is offensive line. This going into the offseason, this is a little further down the road, but they got to be way more aggressive with offensive line portal recruiting. That's my opinion. You need 2 pieces out of there to be able to, play. And be SEC starters next year with the roster that we have, because our roster is going to be set up pretty good. So I just think the approach got to be different with Reed. I'm not mad at having 2 offensive line coaches. No, I do think we need an OC, all of that. But I just think the approach, it's a lot going to it than just, these guys are not coaching well, recruiting well. There's a lot of nuances to how you you inject the talent and get our trenches back up to where they need to be. We did it on defensive line. We just have it on offensive line. Some of those projections hit on defensive line, like Caleb Banks. Like, he didn't start. We didn't know how good he was going to be until he got here. And he's like, oh, this kid could play a little bit. So that one hit. But other than that, we'll see what it is on offense. Right now, that's our biggest problem right now, is just depth. Let's starting 5s out. We're in shambles.
Of the grades of this game, your best run blockers: Jake Slaughter, Richie Leonard, Damian George, Najee Harris, and then pass blocking: Jake Slaughter, Richie Leonard.
Richie, man.
Sorry, you have to work through a lot of tight ends here. Lyndall Hudson, Najee Harris, and then Austin Barber. Again, I think one of Austin Barber's worst games, according to PFF. They do allow 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, 3 hurries, and 6 pressures in the game itself. So that's where the Gators sit on offense. Obviously, a game that Florida probably and should have scored more points. But we're able to move the ball pretty efficiently. Any final thoughts before we move on to defense? This will be a lot more positive on the defense side of the ball, boys.
Boardingham getting in the end zone. I don't know what that little jig was, but he was feeling himself in the end zone. Good for him.
All Boardingham at tight end. No, I won't see nobody else.
I think the biggest thing with him is just like, and this is an exaggeration, but it's like when he's in the huddle, you have to like call the play and then tell him what route he's running or who he's blocking on the play. Like, I just don't think he's there yet in terms of like being there mentally. Like, if he was a receiver and you could just tell him like, hey, listen, this is your route and you don't have to worry about blocking or or anything like that.
We're in no hurry in that huddle, Nick. Like I don't see any.
You got plenty of time.
We can explain to everybody in the huddle what they got to do. Hey, you got to do this. Like we're taking our time with this. It's apparently there's no pace. So
that's true.
All right, let's get to the defensive side of the ball. Before we do that, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at FanGo Tickets. Go to FanGo, that's FANGO tickets.com. It is a customer first, consumer first application. There are no fees if you are buying tickets. It is a place that you can list your season tickets for buy or sell on there. So again, go check out fangotickets.com. They've sold a lot of tickets. We're super proud of what we've been able to do. And thank you guys for supporting Fango. Now they're looking for more tickets. So go put your tickets up there. You can block off the games that you're going to for the Florida Gators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Tampa Bay Bucks. So you can list what you have available, and the transaction is easy and seamless. I think it's a 3-step process on the purchasing side. So go check out fangotickets.com. Again, that's fangotickets.com. Like I said, the Gators give up just 7 points on defense, the highest ranked players in this game. And I'll do it for those that have played 10 or more snaps, even though Taraji Mitchell played 8 and looked pretty good. Kelby Collins, Scooby Williams, Manny Nunnery, Caleb Banks are your top 5 there. Your top 4, then Princely, TJ Searcy, Shamar James, Jack Pyburn, and Devin Moore. Jordan Castell also has a good game as well. So, gentlemen, again, another game where the Gators dominate on defense. Get 6 sacks, 6 QB hits, 10 hurries. So, a solid defensive performance. You guys give me your thoughts. So,
I'm loving what I'm seeing from one, man. After week 1, a lot of criticism with the little ass stadium Pope picture and all that. And they're throwing chip, salsa, and everything else at Princely. And he's doing what he got to do to be productive. He's affecting the defense on run plays, pass plays. So shout out to him. The entire defense, man. I'm just, it's night and day. We're not playing 30 yards back with our corners. We're pressing shit. We're applying pressure. Like one thing Austin Armstrong is gonna do is we're gonna either get there or we're not gonna get there, but we're gonna damn sure try. He's gonna send pressure. He's gonna dial up pressure. Our defensive back is gonna be put in some vulnerable situations, and they've been living up to it. I like Jordan Castell a lot, man. Well, it don't matter, where you put him at. If he's on the back end or if he's coming downhill to make tackles. He's a very good safety, the best safety we had as a true freshman, I would say, since Matt Elam. Those type of vibes.
1 or 2 bad angles, but you live with that because he's playing at such a high level. I think he still has the most snaps of anyone on defense. You live with hey, he had a bad angle. You're still
he ain't played perfect.
19 years old. But he's been a stud. I need to keep eating crow because I was ready to write Scooby Williams off.
Scoobs is Himothy.
He was an edge rusher in high school, and then they moved him inside, and then he's bounced back and forth from inside to edge. And I was like, this seems like a message. They're trying to let you know, hey, you don't have a home, get out of here. So I was ready to write him off. He's playing out of his mind. He's been sensational. Him and Shamar next to each other at linebacker. They're both coming back next year. You look at this defense, and sure, you've got, I think Princey will want to leave after this year. Cam Jackson probably wants to leave after this year. You got a lot of dudes coming back and who are getting a lot of reps right now.
That linebacker room feels like everybody's balling. So Manny Nunnery gets in. Wingo shows some flashes this week as well with just the way he gets
punt block.
He blocked the punt, and also I think he broke up a pass rushing one time. But that linebacker room is just a bunch of guys. Miguel Mitchell's also coming. Not Taraji Mitchell is coming in and making some good plays as well at linebacker. So it's just everybody's just itching to make a play, when they get in. And I like the level of competition and the talent we got in that room. Miguel Mitchell got to learn how to tackle. That touchdown we did give up was because of him. And we spoke about his tackling in the offseason and camp. We've seen some highlights of him getting trucked here or there in some of our videos. You're throwing shoulders at people, not even shoulders, just coming in chest out. Not wrapping up, not taking guys to the ground. And that's what did give up the 1 touchdown. So I'm with Thornton, man. I'm with a young wave of safeties. It's not ideal to have two freshmen back there, but if I got a guy that's not even showing the willingness to tackle and come up and smack somebody, I don't know what you're getting out of him at this point.
Well,
But
throw
overall, I
Justin's
like the
comment
defense.
up there, Dan, because I think
Say what?
that throw Justin Hatton his comment up.
Oh yeah, and
Because
that's
I
a big
think
difference.
that's a huge difference. Like if your interior defensive line is staying in their gap, controlling their guy, and your linebackers can run free, then they're freed up to make plays. If the defensive line's getting moved, if they're not getting holding their gap, holding their man, like now you have a 320-pound offensive guard smacking Scooby in the face, and that's when you have your safeties, Trey Dean and Rashad Torrance, leading the team in tackles by a large margin last year. So I think you do have to. Everything is kind of like just everything's strung together. If the defensive line's not playing well, you're not going to have linebackers being able to run and play clean. So yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, so if you're listening, the comment from Justin Hatton is linebacker play is vastly improved because of interior defensive line makes all the difference. So great point there. And I do want to give Jay Bateman his flowers. He caught a lot of strays in year one.
They weren't strays. They were aimed.
Maybe they weren't strays. Maybe a few were. But right now, recruiting one of the best linebacker groups in the country, and certainly this group is vastly improved as well. But point made and point well taken there, Justin, with the defensive line. So again, defensive side of the ball does really well. I'm willing to say that Jalen Kimber and Devin Moore, in my opinion, are your two best corners this season. Jason Marshall, I think, has been okay. I thought that he played all right in this game. Got a little beat up against Tennessee there, but I think since Jalen Kimber's cast came off last year and then into this year, that in my opinion, he's the best cornerback that the Gators have. What are your guys' thoughts?
He's available. I like Devin Moore, but he's just not available like that. I think as far as skills and talent wise, I got Devin Moore as being the most talented, but you can't make the club in the tub. All three are interchangeable. I feel good with four guys. Even if Jakeem, I know he's been beat, with a little push off here in the Tennessee game, but I feel good about all four of my defensive backs. Jason Marshall, of course, got to tighten some things up with jamming people, but I ain't nervous about him being out there. But Kimber, yeah, I've said it in the offseason. I thought highly of his skill set, and I think he's living up to it so far this season. Big week this week versus Kentucky. I need my defense to come in and shut some things out here on the road and set the tone, dog. But I have no complaints about my defense right now. It ain't perfect, but as young as they are flying around, man, every time I see TJ Searcy and Kelby Collins just smashing stuff, I'm like, bro, these boys just got on campus. It feels like those Bama players that come in and we watch Bama, like that's a freshman and he ready to play already. Now we're getting those guys that are ready to play the moment they get on campus. You know what I'm saying? Like body wise, physical wise, they're peaked out. Jordan Castell, great eval. He wasn't no 5-star dude, but when you look at his skills and how he's playing, it looks like we all underrated him coming in as how important he would be. Even with Bryce Thornton, dog, just straight up football players. Some of the plays these guys are making are just instincts. You can't measure some of this stuff on at camps or even on some of their film. You don't see it until you get in game and these guys are making it happen. But overall, some incredible evals on that defensive side of the ball.
And in defense of Jakeem, he got beat a couple times against Tennessee, but it's like you said with Armstrong's defense. Like, listen, we are going. We might not get there, but we're going to leave our guys on an island because we're going to do our damnedest to try and get there. So when you're when you're a cornerback, you got to have a short memory. Like you're not going to be 100%. Like Darrelle Revis in his prime would get beat every once in a while. Like it happens. Especially to an 18-year-old kid in playing against a 23-year-old Brew McCoy who's been in college for 5 years.
So let's get into the defensive line. I think that's a good way to start. Obviously, defensive line played, I thought, well against Kentucky, or pardon me, against Charlotte. what do you guys think? Anybody that stood out to you? I know we've kind of touched on it, but anybody that really stood out to you in this game? I know we talked about Caleb Banks. I thought that he did well, but anybody that really stuck out to you guys?
I think Kelby Collins. I don't know if we're considering him a linebacker or a defensive end right now, but I thought he had a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
I was just impressed by the rotation. Us being able to go, like, I just seen fresh bodies in the entire game, and last year seeing what we had to deal with basically leaning on two guys all season. But being able to rotate Chris McClellan in, Desmond Watson, Caleb Banks, you just go body after body. And I'm watching the trenches. There's not a lot of drop off. Of course, Cam is probably top dog in that room. There's gonna be some drop off from him, but overall, bro, I haven't the defensive line is very good. I want to see us. We got more SEC play here, but we'll be here all day if we try to give everybody flowers on the defensive line, dog. Like, I think they hoop. I do want to see just some more edge pressure. I do think we're missing Justice Boone a little bit in that category. As far as and also too, I got to see some moves out of my man. 44 Bobby Boucher, forgetting his name right now. Pyburn. Yeah, Pyburn has got to get some moves. He's not a lot in his repertoire of pass rush moves and versus the run as well. He's got some more developing to do. We'll see how it plays out throughout the season. But overall, outside of that, bro, missing Justice Boone just a tad bit, just from the edge rushing, getting to the passer standpoint. But solid group. Shout out to Coach Spencer. Great coaching going on in that room.
Absolutely. A lot of rotation at nose tackle. Jamari Lyons plays 14. Desmond Watson
Lions.
plays 9. Say
Jamari.
Yeah, he's
Jamari.
hooping. Yeah, he's hooping.
And then Cam Jackson plays 17 snaps there. On the right end, a lot of rotation again. Kelby Collins gets 18. Jack Pyburn gets 16 snaps there. Cameron James gets 6. Tyreek Sapp gets 16 snaps. A lot of rotation. The Gators had 23 players in this game play 13 or more snaps. Desmond Watson is the gap between 13 and then 9 there. But a lot of rotation there. Obviously, we've mentioned the linebackers a little bit. We've mentioned corners. But as an overall defense, I think I mentioned this. In rush defense, top 5 players were Scooby Williams, Taraji Mitchell, Manny Nunnery, Desmond Watson, and Princely. From a tackling perspective, Jordan Castell, Scooby Williams, Manny Nunnery, Shamar James, and RJ Moten graded out as your best tacklers. And then in pass rush, Princely gets a 90.6, which is very, very high. Then TJ Searcy, Caleb Banks, Jack Pyburn, and Kelby Collins in that game. So, again, I don't think that we can give their defense enough flowers. They've done everything that you've really asked them to do, and it is young guys that are making these huge plays for the Gators on defense. So shout out to Austin Armstrong and the defensive staff. I think that they're really starting to click on all cylinders. It has been mentioned that the Gators do have the number 5 overall defense right now behind Penn State, Air Force, Michigan, and Ohio. So congratulations to them. They rank 6th in the country in number of plays allowed on defense as well. And then they are 30th right now, just barely. There's not much in difference there, but 30th in yards per play with 4.66. So again, the Gators have played 2 teams that were ranked in the top 15 when they played. So a lot of the teams above them still have yet to get to the meat of the schedule. But I think with the young defense that the Gators have with Austin Armstrong, I think that things are only going up and getting better from here. Not seeing a ton of missed assignments. Obviously, you wanted to see Miguel Mitchell make that tackle. Not a lot of missed tackles. I think there was 4 total in this game. So, and again, with a mobile quarterback like Jalen Jones is, they can beat you. It's just the way that it works when you have that mobile quarterback and everything else. So being able to spy and make sure that he doesn't get a ton of yards. And obviously there was that, I think it was a 75-yard drive that they had for a touchdown. Other than that, that's going to happen when the team's young. But other than that, very solid defensive performance overall. And then Chris Sorley, I have to shout this one out. Jaden Hill's done a great job this year.
Damn, I don't know.
That's Chris that said it, not me.
Yeah, season is going as Jaden Hill's going so far.
Yeah. Yeah, things you love to see. Let's get in. I know that there's a couple questions, and we'll get into Kentucky. We'll get into special teams, and then we'll get into Kentucky here. But we do want to give a Russell Swick asks, thanks for the super chat. Billy appears to be really good in run game play calling. Do we have any former OCs on staff that could be a pass game coordinator? If we do, then maybe with creativity of titles and the staff stays in place. I know Russ Calloway was an offense coordinator at Samford, I believe. But what do you think the Gators should do there? Do you expect it this year, or is just
literally there's literally no chance?
Yeah,
in the middle of the season, nothing's about to happen.
Giving play calling duties to anybody. He's not firing a coach to then hire an offensive coordinator or give the.
I think that's about. I think you're gonna get an OC here, Nick.
Well, it's not happening this season, and every game,
in the season, no, not
every game. Is just I'm just yelled at for 3 hours that Billy needs an OC, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Like table that until like November 26th. Like
yeah. Love yourself, bro.
We're just yelling at it, and we're working ourselves up every Saturday. And then as the Saturdays stack up, it seems to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Excited for a game, and then by second quarter, we're worked back up into a frenzy again. So it could happen. It's not going to happen in the season, and we're just yelling hot air.
It is what it is. We spoke about it. I just don't like doing content of just be regurgitating the same takes over and over every week, bro. Like, that's for spaces. People want to do that on there, then cool. Like, go yell and scream in there. But we all are in agreement that we would like to see Billy get an OC. Is it gonna happen mid-season? Like Nick said, nah, it's not gonna happen. So we just in wait and see mode. During the off season, I think you reshift this staff a little bit, and then you get a play caller in. I mean, that's just my opinion, but right now, in season, this is what it is, and there's still a lot of growth in this. It's still plays that we're missing on. There's still execution that I don't care what you're calling. The O-line ain't blocking. The O-line just ain't blocking. Like if they can't block, you can't run a play. So the depth there is more of the issue. I think even with the deep passes, like there's been times where I thought we had some chances to hit some deep stuff, and then Graham Mertz got sacked. So. While the offensive play calling is, there's some chemistry missing from it, some feel of the game missing from it, some creativity missing from it. It's still we're missing. It's some lack of execution that our players are missing as well. So we just vibe out, man. Let's get the 8 wins, and then we'll see what the OC position looks like. If we make some changes there. Also, special teams. I'm not gonna just gloss over that. I think there's a few changes we need to make staff wise, but that ain't nothing we gonna make content about every single week. Harping on things that can't change. What can change is execution, time management, and all of that stuff. So
on the field,
11 guys on special teams, so playing Trey Smack from goal.
Both times this week there were 11 guys on the field, and then the 11th guy just ran off the field.
Did you check his jersey number? Was it two of the same numbers again?
Just decided.
Did you see the USC guy? Did you see that video that went around? There's a guy
the USC guy.
That changes his jersey for special teams. I think he throws on a number 42.
So that's what they were supposed to do with. I think Jamarcus Weston's been doing that. They announced it. He's like Zero's now wearing 43 on special teams. I don't know why. Maybe Sharif Denson's on special teams too. Maybe it's Denson doing it.
Denson got a lot of reps this week. Shout out to Zero getting in and getting a lot of reps.
That's what. Eugene Wilson, I was blanking on his name. That's what Eugene Wilson was supposed to have at Utah. He was supposed to be putting on, I think, a 33. But yeah, that's a normal practice. People were like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "Oh, I think it's just a bigger one, like one size, 2 size bigger jersey. They just on and off."
Yeah, it was just cool to see. I mean, whenever I see something unique and different, I think, man, wouldn't that be cool if we could do something like that at Florida? And I guess we do. We just don't do it well. Let's get into special teams a little bit, and then we'll get into recruiting and then to the Kentucky game. We do want to shout out our friends over at Alumni Hall. Go visit them at alumnihall.com or on Archer Road in Gainesville, right off of 75 there. if you're looking for the coaches polos, if you're looking for black jerseys, if you're looking for Christmas gifts, if you're looking for any tailgating accessories, Alumni Hall is the place to go. Again, go visit them, alumnihall.com, or go visit them on Archer Road when you come to Gainesville next. No better place to get more Florida Gators apparel and accessories than Alumni Hall. All right, so give Trey Smack his flowers. Goes 5 for 5, and then goes for 5 for 5 on field goals, goes 1 for 1 on PATs. Trey Smack sat on the bench for a long time behind Adam Mihalik. Obviously had kickoff duties, but goes and gets a touchdown, or a point after attempt against Tennessee last week. It's a field goal against Tennessee, and then goes 5 for 5. So I think that this has cemented him as our starting kicker for the year, huh?
I don't know what the hell was going on. What was going on in practice? Because like what we see in the game is night and day. So I'm trying to figure out how like it was a competition with Trey Smack. Was like the other kicker is kicking 60-yarders and then he fell off when the lights got big. Like what exactly happened where Trey Smack wasn't the guy? Because he's hitting 54 down the middle. Like it don't look like it could look like he went from 70 down the middle. So I'm trying to figure out what was happening in practice, bro. That's my only takeaway from that, because Trey Smack is very good at kicking, it seems.
He was hurt in 22, so I think that helped Mihalik win the job in 22, because I think Trey Smack wasn't even available. He started or played in the last 7 games, but missed more than a month, I think, with a groin injury. When we talked to them before the season, they were like, yeah, we're both like 90%. And I was like, I don't believe that. I watched you kick last year, and I don't believe it. I don't
Trey
know what
Smack shut you up with 100%.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Smack got that leg, bro.
I don't want to be like mean or rude, but like Mihalik had the worst season since Austin Harden last year. And then started this year poorly. And then Trey Smack comes in that first like PAT against Tennessee and nearly kicked the ball into the nosebleeds. And I was like, wait, what are we doing here? What are we actually doing here? And then every kick he's had, the ball just like is like shot off his foot. And they don't look the same. So I don't know what. So that's a long way to say I have no idea what they were watching in practice.
That kick versus Tennessee when he kicked that knuckleball, it looked like one of my son's Pop Warner field goal attempts, bro. It came off, never got off the ground. I was like, what the hell was that? Like, we're in trouble if that's our kicker. Man,
we are in trouble.
We're in trouble. And then you go to extra points, saying like, bro, this does not look good. And then you get Trey Smack booming 54-yarders with ease, man. And they didn't hesitate to send him out there. So it's like they knew too, like, nah, we got a kicker. Let's just stress Florida fans out a little bit first.
So give Trey Smack his flowers. Gators still struggle in special teams, getting the right number of players on the field. And then if anything is a microcosm, in my opinion, of Gator special teams, you get a punt block that then rolls for
47 yards.
40 yards. I mean, just an incredible turn of events for the Gators.
Game changer coach can't vibrate, bro.
No, he just needs something. Vibrate. Yeah, Derek Wingo gets his fingers on the ball and the ball still.
And then it rolls 40 yards. Like, come on, man. come on,
man. Oh man.
So we're calling them. They are the game change. Don't give them that 11th letter until they can get 11 guys on the field. That's the game change group.
Okay. All right. So let's get into recruiting a little bit. Then we'll get into Kentucky.
I hope his wife don't listen to this show. That's what I
mean, Nick, I saw the tweet. I think it works better in words than written out than it does. So let's get in. The Gators have a couple of big guests this past weekend. Charles Lester III, who is committed to FSU, is a 5-star cornerback, and Jeremiah Smith, a 5-star number 1 player in the country, and wide receiver, were on campus. The Charles Lester visit was a bit of a surprise. To the normal fans. I guess the Gator fans weren't surprised, or the Gator staff wasn't surprised. But after that, he said that he's going to be taking an official visit to the University of Florida, which is huge news. Venice, Florida, stand out there. So good interview with Keith Niebuhr if you want to go ahead and listen to that, boys. But Jeremiah Smith, Charles Lester on campus for Charlotte. Any thoughts on recruiting?
Good. As far as Charles Lester, like man, these guys are not gonna leave a stone unturned. We got Xavier Fisami at the safety position, who I think he's better than Charles Lester. But if you got both of those guys on the back end, now you're just cooking with hot grease. He's a Florida State. He was perceived as a Florida State lock when he committed. Before he committed there, there, and it would be an incredible flip. But he's a Florida State guy. Grew up a Florida State fan.
Yeah.
But I like what I'm hearing, and he says he's gonna come back for that official visit. Everybody's burnt their official. We don't have unlimited visits right now, do we? Is that next year, or does that apply now?
Players can take unlimited officials.
Yeah. Florida has each school has still. Yeah, I think it's 30 something.
But still one per school, right?
It's like 75 total that you're allowed to have for official visitors. I think it's 65, 75, somewhere in that range. But players, I believe, can take an unlimited number of official visits, but one per school, correct?
One per school. So he's burnt his to Florida State already in Georgia and Bama, all those guys. We're pretty much the only program that still has an official visit on deck. He said he's going to return to a game as well. Probably one before FSU. If not, definitely he'll be here for the FSU game. So you get him for 2 visits. If you look at Florida State secondary right now, it's just complete food. It's a buffet. Then they're not playing well. And if you're paying attention, you look at the Florida defense. Austin Armstrong's very young. Corey Raymond is one of the best defensive back coaches ever. So the sell is there. The fun defense is there. And I've seen some. We flipped Dante Fowlers in the past. We flipped some guys that was absolute Florida State locks that nobody perceived as a possible flip. But if they're sneaking around like this and they're popping up at visits, bro, they're not coming here for funsies. Like the staff is recruiting, they're getting some things going. I'm not saying he's a for sure flip, but we definitely got something cooking. We just got to keep winning football games, keep the defense looking good. And if Corey Raymond could bring in Charles Lester with Xavier Fisami, and then you still got Zay Mincy and those guys still in the fold, man, I'm about to start talking crazy.
No, I think that
schools can host 56 official
56.
visits.
Okay. So they still obviously want to be careful with how many that they have, but Charles Lester's obviously a guy. And one of the things that I do like, whether he comes to Florida or not, which I would never say on this podcast, that I think that he is right now, it's being able to continue to recruit and continue to go after these guys. We watched the last staff them give up on a lot of people and continuing to recruit guys, even if they don't end up coming to your school, to continue to give that effort, continue to fight, until that signature is dry on that page. So a couple of quotes that he gave Keith Niebuhr on 3. I will be back. I don't know if I'll make it to a game before FSU. I'm planning to be back before that game, but if not, I know for a fact that game. And then I know I will be taking an official visit in December. And Silk, you mentioned it about Corey Raymond. Charles Lester told Keith he's a great person. He's developed plenty of DBs and has sent all the top name guys to the NFL. I can't miss on that. I know some of the freshmen in high school and they played last year. So seeing the development and how far they've come along since they stepped on campus months ago, I just love. So he will likely be here December 8th through the 10th. So again, a guy to look out for. And then Jeremiah Smith is also on campus, has flirted with Florida a lot, has flirted with a lot of the big 3 schools, still committed to Ohio State. A guy that you still bring onto campus. I was having a conversation with some of my guys. How long do you keep recruiting a guy like Jeremiah Smith? And the answer is you just keep recruiting him until he doesn't come here anymore. He's just one of those can't miss prospects. And if he wants to come, you still allow him the opportunity to come. So,
yeah, he has an open invitation to the cookout.
Mm-hmm.
I've never gotten the sense that he's like flipping though. To not just to Florida, but like to anywhere. Like he will.
I think he flips, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point,
really?
Watching Ohio State play this year, Ryan Day, I don't know if I believe in Ohio, like their future and where they're going and their confidence in Ryan Day, any of that. And I think like the players feel that as well. He's just flirting way too hard and heavy.
He only loses to like playoff teams. Like he lost to Michigan, I think 2 years in a row. That's their only
He
loss.
ain't that guy though, man. Like you talking like you leaving from
Listen, if you're trying to pick fights with Lou Holtz,
yeah,
who was born, I think before World War II started.
And like a very noted, like Notre Dame homer, right? It's not like you're beefing
coached
with
at Notre Dame
State
homer, guy. Just going after my guy Lou,
who was
in bed for 4 hours before Ryan Day said anything.
Lou Holtz don't even remember saying what he said. I promise you. You're that angry. Like, I don't think Ryan Day's that guy. And that may not matter. I know Heartline is a hell of a recruiter. But Jeremiah Smith is just flirting hard, way harder than any of those prior Ohio State, Florida receivers have. So I don't know if it's the Florida, but I do think he flipped. I don't think he sticks at this point. I don't think the flirtation is just for funsies. He's taking all these visits for a reason.
The Gators do have, they had 7 recruits on campus: Jeremiah Smith, Charles Lesser, who we've mentioned, Miles Graham, commit, Jarek Gibson, the Gainesville native that's committed to Texas. He was on campus. Amaris Williams, Nasir Johnson, both commits. And then DeAndre Robinson, who's a guy that committed to Texas. He's from Jones High School there in Orlando. I know that there was a lot of discussion around his commitment time of whether he was going to come to Florida, but he comes onto campus too. So for a game against Charlotte, a game that these guys probably aren't looking to see how great the team does, offense, defense, whatever it might be, they're just looking to go and build relationships. And to have those 7 guys on campus, it's not bad. Your worst player on campus was the 369th best player. So pretty good turnout for the Gators.
We didn't even get it to Pickett. 2025 kid pulled up as well.
Yeah, you're right. That was just the 2024 guys. Yeah. For 2025, Silk, you mentioned, just load this real quick.
Back-to-back weeks for Pickett. He came to Tennessee week, enjoyed himself, figured he'd come back for some more midtown vibes.
Don't blame him. Gators had 5 2025 guys on campus. DJ Pickett, he's the number 8 player overall in the country from Zephyr Hills, here right outside the Tampa Bay area. Dallas Wilson, who's committed to Oregon from Tampa Bay Tech. Daryl Johnson, the 106th ranked player, 6'3", 205 pound. Max Buchanan, interior offensive lineman from Seminole High School in Sanford, Florida. And then Centoyo Isaac from Tampa Bay Tech. He probably rolled up here with Dallas Wilson as well. But again, you have 4 guys out of the 5 that were top 300 players in the country. And then Centoyo Isaac is the 356th best player in the country. So of the 12 visitors that you had on campus, your worst was the 350th best player in their class. So not a bad week of recruiting for the Gators. Let's get into Kentucky.
One more take. One more take about the recruiting. I know, like, people saying, "Oh, why would Jeremiah Smith want to play for this offense?" Oh, we didn't blow this team out, and we had all these recruits on campus. More than anything, these players are going to be looking at the playing time as well. Like they're seeing a bunch of freshmen run around on the field. When you got those safeties that we had on those visits, DJ Pickett, they're not concerned about other freshmen playing. They're like, yo, the best players are going to play. It's going to be an opportunity to rotating as well, whether it's defensive line, DBs. You're seeing them get the best players on the field and them get snaps at a very young age. And it's also, they're not out there getting barbecued. They're playing well. And that's what recruits are seeing. They don't look at it as fans, bro. It's a little bit different perspective for the recruits that are coming here. They're looking at, projecting themselves in the defense and seeing what's actually happening X and O wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's you're exactly right, Corey. They look at the game very, very different than the way that you and I do as fans. So with that, let's get into a bit of a Kentucky preview. Sorry, we don't have a writer this week. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Go visit them at homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. It'll get you 15% off of your order. About 20 different logo shirt for the Florida Gators, as well as a starter type jacket, as well as we get into some cooler weather here in the next couple of months. So again, go visit homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale at checkout. And if you have a significant other, a family member, maybe somebody you're going to buy Christmas presents for, they're up to about 80 or 90 different schools now. And I believe the last 2 schools that were just added, if you're a big fan, are Idaho and Idaho State. So go check out homefieldapparel.com. John Wilcox, thanks for the super chat donation. This week is Kentucky. Put them in the dirt year. So thanks, John. It is time.
John's got the shovel ready and everything.
He's got the shovel ready to go. If you are looking for a shirt that says "Put them in the dirt," check no further than the Stadium and Gale store, stadiumandgale.com/shop. And if you see that logo and you want that on a different article or type of apparel, please let us know. So thanks a lot, John. While you're here, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on, everything else while you're on YouTube. We appreciate you guys watching, all 250 of you or so. So Gators go against Kentucky, who is undefeated. They have beat the likes of Ball State 40-14. Eastern Kentucky 28-17, Akron 35-3, and then Vanderbilt 45-28. Gentlemen, they're in the bag 4-0. Some players to watch out for, obviously Devin Leary, the North Carolina State transfer quarterback, is their starting quarterback. Tavion Robinson, Kamari Anderson. Nope, sorry, not him. Ray Davis, their running back. And not a lot of production outside of those main guys. And then Barrion Brown is down there at wide receiver as well. But gentlemen, I'm sure you've done some deep analysis on Kentucky. Has thrown Devin Leary 9 touchdowns this season, 1,063 yards, 5 interceptions. 5.
I think he's thrown an interception every game through 2 last week.
Yep.
He's had his receivers have dropped some balls, but they protect him. Like they don't. I think they're second or third in the SEC in terms of sacks given up. It's kind of like your typical Kentucky team. Like they're big on both offensive and defensive line. I really like Ray blanking on his last name. You just said it too, Dan. Ray Davis. Really like Ray Davis as a running back. I think it's gonna be a tough game for Florida. Like I just Kentucky, Mark Stoops. This is not your grandfather's Kentucky. I caught a little bit of the roll up last night. Silk heard you say that. It's not your grandfather's Kentucky anymore.
It's not, bro. It's a real SEC fight.
Yeah. I watched Mark Stoops and that coaching staff outclass and outcoach Dan Mullen on a Saturday. Watched him do it last year to Billy and that staff. Interested to see what Austin Armstrong does. Now, talking to Clark Brooks a little bit last night, he says Kentucky's defense, we've talked a lot about like Graham Mertz and that short passing game. And I said on our message board at Gators Online, I was like, listen, unless you're Steph Curry, if they're giving you the lane and giving you layups, you don't need to pull up for 3. Just keep taking your layups. And Florida's kind of dinked and dunked and taking those layups, those easier plays. And Kentucky kind of likes to keep everything in front of them. So it'll be interesting to see how Florida's offensive line holds up, because I do like to make blitz from different places. But I think if you're going to let Graham Mertz just throw 6-7 yard slants, outs, and screens to Trey Wilson, then Florida could have some success. But how does that offensive line hold up? Because this is a Kentucky team that will try to pressure Graham Mertz and sack him.
Yeah, the Kentucky defense is solid. We'll get into them in a minute. Some names again to look out for Kentucky. Tavion Robinson leads their team with 283 yards. Barrion Brown, 214 yards. Dane Key and then Ray Davis are their top 4. Don't seem to use their tight end a ton, but still they have Jordan Dingle and Braden Bates with a couple catches this season as well. So you're definitely going to have some Shamar James and Scooby Williams there, likely on some coverage there, the tight ends as well. Kentucky's best player by far is Tavion Robinson when it comes to receiving. Pro Football Focus has not been very solid on Kentucky as an offense this season. But right now he's catching about 75% of the passes that get thrown his way, averaging 17.7 yards. Berrien Brown's averaging 14, and Dane Key's averaging 15 yards per catch. So they're going deep, and they're getting quite a few yards after reception as well. Tavion Robinson's averaging almost 9 yards after reception. Berrien Brown's 4. Dane Key is 5, and then Ray Davis, the running back, is averaging almost 17 yards after he catches the ball. So again, the Kentucky defense, Kentucky offense is going to rely heavily on Devin Leary to throw and try to make those Florida DBs, especially the young ones, work for it. Ray Davis, the running back, 311 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Devin Leary has 2 fumbles on this season. Ray Davis, I believe, transferred from Vanderbilt, if I remember correctly. And then Juton McLean is the other guy at running back, and he's had 114 yards on 6.3 yards this season. Kentucky, 4 fumbles this season, 5 interceptions. Gators have to cause a turnover on defenses.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're on the road, so turnovers are going to be key. Devin Leary has shown that he'll give us one. Secondary play, we're going to apply a lot of pressure. I think turnovers is going to be there. It's just going to come down to our offensive line play, us winning this football game. Bottom line, ETN having a big game, controlling the clock, time of possession, and letting this defense do what it do. And also just striking first. We've been counterpunching pretty good this year. We didn't strike first the Tennessee game. So just getting out early, getting that crowd out of the game. I'm glad it's at noon and not 7.
Yeah.
That should be rocking at night out there whenever we play them. We're at Super Bowl. So they're gonna come out. The crowd's gonna be what it's gonna be. Let's take the crowd out of it early, get the run game going, play some defense. It's a super winnable game. I think they're favored right now by 2 points.
Yeah.
But all comes down to our offensive line play in my mind. If we protect Graham Mertz, don't turn over the ball, play our basic what we're supposed to do, we win this game. I don't think we got to hit a lot of home run shots as far as like the ball traveling far. We got some explosive plays. Trey Wilson's back. That's going to be huge and major key to this offense. I want them to start the game off like they did last week versus Tennessee, getting the ball, finding a way to get Trey Wilson the ball, just getting the ball in his hands, stressing Stoops and those guys out because they are a very good defensive unit and they're coached very well on that side of the ball. So I want us to just apply some pressure in that way, going sideways, and that's going to loosen up the middle of the field for ETN to be able to get off. So to me, that's the key of the game. Getting versatile with Trey Wilson to loosen up the middle of that offense, let ETN do his thing. And Graham Mertz is going to be, turnover-free football. Take care of it. That's what we need. McElroy vibes. And let the playmakers do what they do. More Bordenham, more playmakers, getting the ball to the playmakers' hands. But all comes down to the offensive line for me.
Play clean. Show me that you learned from what you did at Utah. The margin for error, just like with the way that the team is, with the way the roster is right now, is just too small to have 6-7 false starts on the road and overcome that. So I think everything you said, Trey Wilson, that like jet sweep, all that motion stuff, some of it's just window dressing, but he's shown that you have to respect it. And when he goes in, you're going to have to start sliding linebackers over, have a DB chase him. And it softens up the middle and softens up things for the running game. So I'm interested. I knew Florida's plan against Tennessee was going to be like that keep away. Hey, we're going to have to convert on some third downs. You were just 1 of 9 on third downs last week, but you were fantastic on third down against Tennessee. Is it that same game plan? Like, listen, we need to have some long, sustained drives to keep the crowd out of it. Can't shoot ourselves in the foot by playing 5.5 people on special teams, by having illegal procedures and holding penalties, especially on key downs. To me, it seems like, listen, Florida had that plan for Tennessee, and Graham Mertz and the offense executed it perfectly. And if you can do that, if you can come out like, if you make a field goal, Florida comes out and scores first on Tennessee. That was like a 14-play drive, 8.5 minutes to start the game.
Right.
If Florida wins the toss, takes the ball, and does that, like the crowd's out of the game right away. And I really like Florida's defense. Devin Leary's shown that he will turn the ball over. They've had a bunch of drops from their receivers. I think it'll be a really another great test for Austin Armstrong. Listen, you're in the SEC now. There's going to be a bunch of great tests for you as a defensive coordinator. But I'm less bullish. I think all offseason I said Florida would beat Tennessee and lose to Kentucky. But Devin Leary has not played. He's not playing terrible, but he's turning the ball over. They also haven't played anyone. Like, I don't know what Kentucky is. They paid for 3 opponents and then played Vanderbilt.
Right.
And they have Georgia next week.
Paid for them. I like that. Paid for 3 opponents.
Yeah, paid for 3 wins. The Kentucky defense, again, taking talent into consideration. Their top 2 players on defense are their cornerbacks. Maxwell Hairston and Andrew Phillips are their top ranked guys on Pro Football Focus. Maxwell Hairston has 3 interceptions to this season, 4 PBUs. Andrew Phillips has 2 PBUs, no interceptions, not allowing a ton, both averaging just 50% of the targets against them. Hairston's only allowed 100 yards in the season, and Phillips just 86. So again, you take talent into consideration. Those are still going to be probably 2 of the better DBs that the Gators play, at least so far this season. So you're going to want to see what Florida's able to do on the offensive side of the ball. But I think that this is a winnable game. I think Kentucky and their record being 4-0, I think there's a reason that they're not ranked at that 4-0 mark. But the team that the Gators need to be is the team that they were against Tennessee, and have that energy. And I think that you're going to see a lot more out of ETN this game. And I want to see them be creative. I want to see them, score and get those opportunities. And especially when you get down into the red zone, the Gators really need to be able to convert in this game against Kentucky as you continue to prepare for that SEC gauntlet that they have ahead of them, because they don't have any other games but SEC until they get to FSU. So this is, the Gators' opportunity to really start, hitting on all cylinders there
already.
So as we get into the game against Kentucky, we'll do a little buy or sell action here. But any final thoughts before we get into this game?
Protect Graham Mertz.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I like that. Protect Graham Mertz. I feel good about my defense and Leary. Like, I like his 59% completion. His he has that itch to turn the ball over and throw interceptions. He's risky with, he made a big play one of these games where he's getting sacked, and seems like a heady play or whatever, but it's turnover risky. Austin Armstrong is a mad scientist, man. So I'm ready to see what he's got designed, like how he attacks this offense, how he attacks Devin Leary. How they prepare for the Tennessee game and the pace, and just hearing that backstory of how all that worked out makes me sleep a little bit better at night about like this matchup. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think we're suited to win this game, but it's going to come down to us, we're young, bro. The talent's there, but it's a road matchup. Like, and going on the road is noon. So I just need these boys to be fired up, dog. I know the defense is going to be fired up. Offense need to execute. And I'm just ready to see Austin Armstrong's game plan, how he attacks a quarterback that's not very accurate. We've seen it already. Milton wasn't accurate, more of an explosive play kind of guy. So I just want to see this approach, bro. It could get very interesting. But
yeah, I want to see the Gators cause some turnovers. Mentioned it. Kentucky has 8 turnovers, 5 through the air, 3 on the ground. They lost another, or they had another fumble that they were able to recover. But the Gators, I think, are still one of the lowest when it comes to overall turnovers this entire season. So want to see Florida capitalize.
-3.
-3
turnover
right now.
margin on the year.
Yeah, so
huge key is going to be the offensive line, I think. Not only just keeping Graham Mertz up, but just creating running lanes. I have no questions about the offense. Like, I'm excited to watch Florida's defense. Excited to watch Florida's defense, like, on a week in, week out basis now. Big thing to watch all week is Kingsley. Can he practice Monday, Tuesday? Will he be on the injury report Wednesday, or will he be on the depth chart Wednesday? I think that's a big key. Also, right tackle, what are you doing? Damian George, Lindell Hudson, what's the moves that you're going to make on the offensive line? I just have big questions on the offensive line, which is where everything starts on offense. No worries about defense. I think Austin Armstrong will have them ready. You got to be like licking your chops at a quarterback who's just been turning the ball over. If you're Austin Armstrong.
Yep. All right, guys, let's get into buy or sell. Then we'll get into the prediction part of the show. Buy or sell, the Gators win the turnover margin.
I'm buying it. We haven't turned it over a lot. We're not getting it. Our defense needs to be a little bit more opportunistic and get me some turnovers. But I don't foresee Graham throwing a lot of interceptions or us getting the fumbling bug out of the thin air. So I'm gonna say we win that one. Then we win the turnover battle on the road.
Florida's lost 4, gained 1. Devin Moore's, backyard playing 500 with Joe Milton.
We got Joe Milton Jr. up now, so
Yeah, less.
I was gonna say he's probably younger than Joe Milton, but I think they're like the same age. Dude's been in college for a while. I'll sell.
So
I think it might be a push.
Yeah, I think push is probably good, but I'm going to say the Gators buy. That's a lot of turnovers. 8 turnovers lost. I think the Gators do that. Would love to see us not have any and the Gators get 1 or 2. Haven't seen a lot of turnover-prone football this season. It's not like Florida has been lucky and had, Tennessee or other teams drop a lot of passes. Florida just hasn't put themselves in a position to have a lot of turnovers. So I think the Gators win that one. Graham Mertz.
Kentucky's forced 8, 4-4, 4 fumbles, 4 interceptions. I'm looking at it now. But also, like, there has to be something said for Florida played what now is a top 10 team in Utah, and at the time a top 11 team, top 25 team, while Kentucky has these 8 turnovers against, like I said, pay-per-view opponents in Vanderbilt.
Yep.
This will be the best defense that they have seen by a mile.
Kentucky. Yeah. Let's see.
Pressure, bust pipes. AA. We gotta get some AA shirts going on, like AA batteries. Austin Armstrong, get it? A battery. We gotta get some shit.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And also Scoops, man. He had a request on Twitter. People start saying Scoops when he makes a play.
I know he's asking Jeremiah Moon how they got him chanting Moon. So let's see. Graham Mertz has more passing yards than Devin Leary.
Bye.
That
was a quick trigger.
Yeah, that was pretty fast for you.
That's a quick trigger.
I think they're gonna be playing catch up. So I'm gonna sell it. I think they're gonna be playing from behind and gotta throw the ball a lot. And we won't have to. We'll be possessing it, vibing, and sitting on that Billy Napier 2-possession lead in the second half.
I think if they keep Graham Mertz upright, Kentucky plays this like umbrella, just try and keep things in front of them, and you might see Graham throw 35 times, 40 times.
I hope not. Not that I don't trust him, but that I just don't want that to be our identity.
That's not a recipe for a win, man.
Yeah. I'm going to sell. I like Silk's analysis there. Nick, you didn't have any. You just bought, so you didn't. I was in between.
No thought on Nick.
Yeah. Nick just bought, so that's positive Nick vibes coming for you. Buy or sell. There is at least one play where the Gators don't have 11 players on the field.
Buy.
I'm buying it.
Buy. I think it's been every game.
I'm a positive guy.
You got to buy it.
Gotta buy it.
Ask this question every week until we all lose.
If I don't buy it, I'm definitely sunshine pumping because we've seen 10 every game.
It could be worse. Notre Dame sent 10 out on the last 2 defensive plays against Ohio State. I saw a college football Reddit. Remember that? So it was like, Lord, I saw 22 sets of footprints on defense all night long, except for the last 2 plays. I only saw 20. Was that you holding us? And the Lord said, no, your defense coordinator forgot to send out another guy.
That's hilarious. That's great comedy right there, bro.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good account to follow. They got some good gems each week. So I think we're all going to buy that one. And then finally, the Gators allow. Let me get the exact number here. Well, pull it up. All right, here we go. Kentucky scored 28 points or more in every game this season. Buy or sell that they will get 28 points or more.
Hell no. No, sell it.
Sell it.
Y'all playing. Y'all don't ever try my defense coordinator like that. Put some respect on Austin Armstrong name, man.
What did they
28 points. Ain't no way.
They scored 44, 28, 35, and 45.
So I'm buying it. So they'll score less, or am I selling it?
You're buying that they will score 28 points or less. Yes.
Buying that. Under 28.
I think that's
under
how
four,
I
under four
write
touchdowns.
these down. These are all off the dome. So I could have put you both in a predicament. Who knows?
Yeah.
Ben Chase isn't keeping track anymore. So
no.
We got
I think
more
he wanted to buy.
Negative.
He wanted to buy. I
got
think
more.
that's 28 or more points that Kentucky.
Ben when he got a real job.
So sell. Okay.
Sell.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Let's get into the prediction part of the show here. Gentlemen, I need a score. I need a winner. Right now, I last saw it, Kentucky was 3-point favorites. So I know you said 2, so somewhere around there. Over under, I believe, was 46, 46 and a half or so. Let's get some score predictions.
Give me 24-17 Gators.
24-17.
I want to pick Florida. I picked Florida in every game this year, though. After saying that they're like a 6-6, they're going to win 6 or 7 games. I picked them in 4 straight weeks. I'm just going to go with what I went with all off season. I'm going to go with Kentucky, and I'll say 20-17.
20-17. Okay. I'm going to go 24-16. Gators win. 16's an odd score, but you know,
I get it.
They're college kickers.
A lot of field goals. Yeah,
a lot of field goals.
You've got
Brad White versus Austin Armstrong, Chris Sorley 17-14, Jeremiah Carpenter 35-14. A lot of Gator fans feel confident about this one. So Lexington is in Eastern time zone. Yeah,
I will hope so. Dan.
12. Say what?
I will hope so, unless they move the state.
Well, I think part of Kentucky is in the central time zone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, teach me something, bro.
And then so that is a 12 kick. Nick, you're going to Lexington for the first time, or Zach's first time?
Zach's first time. Yeah, I've been there. It's a cool little stadium. They've got a really cool. I like to see Florida do something like it. Like recruit area that they host them in. So like right now, Florida kind of has to like move recruits through like weird service areas of the stadium. Kentucky, the first year I went up there was when they just finished it, and it's like this whole like lounge. They've got PS5s and couches and foods catered, and it's a nice little stadium. It's small. I think it's like 61,000. But they get loud, like you said. This is their Super Bowl. Probably a good thing that's at noon. I think the last 2 times I've been there were either night games or like 4 o'clock, 3:30 starts.
We got a couple others. DK 42-24. That's a lot of points. CJ Dorsey, we beat UK last year without AR's mistakes. UF 28, Kentucky 13, and then Jeff Doherty from the top rope 72-6 Gators. Very similar to the Miami Dolphins. I
think Jeff just came home from a long bid. He don't know Kentucky's not the old Kentucky, so I get that 72-6 score.
Jeff just came home from a bid.
He just came home from a scratch.
Listen, man, they're good. They got a good defense, man.
Yeah, Kentucky does have a good defense. We'll see. This will be the first like real opponent. But yeah, Kentucky is a better team than they have been in the past. And then James Ferguson will end on this one. UF by 1 million. I like that.
Is that your car in that profile picture? Put that back up, James. Is that your car? Yeah, I believe
Let us know
James.
if that's your car. As we wrap up show today, Nick, I think you have song of the week, so start thinking a little bit about that.
Can I get one thing before we get out of here?
Yes.
Kamari Wilson, what did you guys thought about that? He came on the sidelines in a very weird situation for me personally. He didn't stretch with the team. I got my opinions on what I think could be happening here, but what do you guys think is going on with Kamari Wilson right now?
Think he thought he was going to win the starting job and has played 20 snaps. Think he wasn't on the travel roster, probably in part because he hasn't handled not being the starter and not playing well. And I don't mean this to talk down on him. If I was 19 years old and I thought I was going to be a starter, and then all of a sudden some dude comes in from West Orange High School, and now I'm playing special teams, I'd probably have a bad attitude about it too. But if you're not on the travel roster, even if it's a home game, you can only take, I think, 80 guys to the hotel with you and on the bus. We see guys all the time. Like, you know what time. Hey, Gator walks at 4:40. Game's at 7. Gator walks at 4:40. You should be in the locker room at 4:40. Not at frat row or at your apartment or with mom and dad or anywhere else. You should be at the stadium. And even though you're not playing, you're with your team. So don't walk into the stadium or on the field in the second quarter and start trying to chop it up. Like, no, you were supposed to be here 2 hours ago.
Yeah, you missed the bus. Just because we're in town, you still missed the bus. I think that he's likely a transfer candidate for next season. I think that Florida has some great talent, young guys. He might be upset. Maybe his best position in college isn't safety. And maybe there's been some talk about where that best position for you might be, and maybe he's not in favor of that. So I think it was odd to come out in the second quarter. I think it's odd to miss, especially if you think that you didn't earn that spot onto the 80. Then certainly showing up that way is not going to earn you any good graces either, right? Get there early, work hard. Even if you're not tasked to be there, figure out what you need to do to put yourself in good graces. But doing that's not gonna win friends or influence people.
I get it, man. They're like, it's your life, and you probably feel like you're being screwed over, and you feel like that's gonna draw some attention and maybe change something. You're young, like I probably would have thought that way too. But like, that's not pouting. Not showing up or then showing up in the middle of the game, not going to help your cause.
Man, Billy did what he's supposed to do, man. Handle business. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, we can see Kamari Wilson is about to transfer. I'm pretty sure he's communicated to the staff that he's not happy about whatever it may be. He ain't the only guy that expected to come in and play and not playing. Like, you had R.J. Moulton guys that was at Michigan that thought they were coming in here. I was getting to him next, but you got guys that are good, mindset, and a part of the culture that you want at this program that aren't getting the minutes that they thought they were going to get in. And these guys are trying to go pro like next year, right?
Yeah.
You just can't have bad culture and bad vibes like that in your locker room. You're fighting for a whole season. It's a journey. Kamari Wilson doing that was just, bad sign. I'm glad that Billy cleaned it up right there on the spot. You don't have to wait till after the game. You're like, nah, get off my sideline. If you plan on transferring or whatever, you're not bringing a good energy to the program. We got to keep it clean when it pertains to that, man. Keep the culture going in the right direction. So I'm with it. We'll see what happens, but I think the writing's on the wall with Kamari Wilson on a lot of different fronts.
Yeah, that 5-star that you have next year disappears once you enroll on campus, and now you have to earn your spot. And Billy has obviously shown that he's going to play the best players, and that can be true freshmen. And if you've got past, there's an opportunity for you to earn playing time, and they're standing right there on the practice field with you. Go out and beat those guys, and show up and stay dedicated. And if you're not, then that's fine, but don't try to affect the team after that.
He made it about him.
Yep.
He's trying to make it about him.
It's always been about him, but still a good pull. Was still the first kid from IMG.
Hey,
5-star that kept the class at it was sinking when they started asking people to go outside and do some cone drills in grandma's backyard. So like held the class together, broke the IMG curse. But yeah, I don't unless he had like a come to Jesus meeting and like realize like, okay, yeah, I'm going about this all wrong. Unless that has happened since Saturday, I think the writing's on the wall, like you said. So,
what would Saban do?
Satan?
Saban, not Satan.
I thought you were like,
same thing. Close.
I thought you were flipping like the come to Jesus meeting.
He's gonna probably drop a Kamari
like,
not
listen,
on field, all right?
Well,
Billy gave Brenton Cox like chance after chance after chance last year, and it wasn't until he like freaked out in the locker room after the Georgia loss that it was just like, yo, man, like strike 13, you gotta go. So like Billy's not going to like give up on guys like this.
And you're gonna give that grace. That grace is dependent on are you actually contributing to the team at all? Right. Brenton Cox was, some selfish play on the field, but he was talented in making plays. Mm-hmm. If you're not making no plays and you decide to just scroll into the stadium with your own little card and you just walking through the building like it's IBM or you working at some like regular company. No, you can't walk in at the second quarter, man. Saban, big dog coaches, Harbaugh, Kirby Smart, they ain't dealing with nothing like that, bro. So I'm glad he cleaned up the mess, man. Whoever on the sidelines told him that he got to go, that was the right move.
Shout out to Ed Thompson. Ed Thompson. Fast Ed.
No guard.
Fast Ed. Sorry.
Ed, no guard.
No, is Kamari Wilson confirmed gone? No. I think there was some flirting last year during the transfer portal time too.
You had that fourth game, right? That's the tricky game, right? Where you can like still redshirt and not use burn your eligibility and all of that stuff. Am I correct?
You can play in 4 regular season ones. The bowl game does not count against the eligibility requirements or limitations anymore. But yes, it's 4. You can play. No, you can play. You can't play in 4 once you hit your fourth game. Once you hit your fourth game, you're
so you can play you can play through 3 and then the bowl game.
Yeah.
CJ Dorsey said CJ Dorsey said Mullen would have gave him a hug on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Him and Miss Mullen both gave him a hug.
Silk, James Ferguson has an update for you. That is his car. He wanted to let you know that he also worked in Pahokee at Sago Palm.
Yeah, if you work there, you definitely work with you definitely guarded my cousins and definitely worked with some of my cousins.
Oh man,
just keeping it real, man.
Yeah, keeping it a bean. That's what we do on the podcast, right? So, Nick, you have song of the week, and then Mullen would have had him captive next week.
That's Factoroni Tony right there.
Factoroni Tony. Nick, what do you got song of the week, bud?
I think there's a new Colby Cooper song that just came out. Let me get the name of that.
There is. While you find that, this is a good reminder that again tomorrow we will be in Gainesville. Afternoon we'll be at Social at Midtown around 3:00 with the Gator Nation Football Podcast. Go support all of our sponsors: FanGo, Alumni Hall, Home Field Apparel, and then of course Gatorverse.io. Go buy the Trevor Etienne card while you are there as well. Make sure you like before you leave today. Hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on, share, do all that. That helps us on YouTube as well.
And we dropping some gas this week, man. I'm excited to pull up in time with you boys. We finna be vlogging, put this pretty face on some 4K, kick some game with some statty guys, some nerd talk, man. I'm excited to get my nerd ball in, bro.
I love it. Nick,
bring my hat. Colby Cooper. The song is called "Hello from the Road."
Hello from the road.
Who's gonna compete hair-wise with these guys? Somebody from our crew got to. I can't rep. I can't rep.
I feel like I got to bring a hat. I mean, look at this.
Whoever negotiated the meeting needed to negotiate a hat clause. This is, I mean,
yeah.
If there's no hat clause, I might
bring a hat.
All audio.
I'm gonna have a great beard day, but somebody got to match the hair vibes from them boys. The hair was a big thing on the Twitter wave. So
Nick's gonna show up in like a marshmallow helmet.
You be Marshmallow, I'll be Dead Mouse.
There we go.
All right, boys. Same corner, same time tomorrow in Gainesville. What do you say?
We're in a ski mask tomorrow.
Don't meet me there. Beat me there, baby.
Yeah. Get one from Chauncey Gardner Johnson. He's got some ski masks that he wasn't able to use against the was it Seahawks? Whatever it was. All right, boys. Same corner, same time tomorrow. Thanks everybody for listening. We will see you soon.